Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and today's car is this, the Ferrari 812 Superfast, a car I've been itching to get in the garage and have a go in and live with, and finally here, this 800 horsepower front engine Ferrari. Now there's a little bit of history with this car. I booked it in at the end of October, November time. And unfortunately the weather took a turn for the worse and Ferrari decided to take the press cars off the fleet and lock them up for the winter. That was fine because it's all right. I had a booking at the end of March when they were coming out of hibernation. And we all know what happened at the end of March. So that booking got moved, quite rightly obviously, and they came back and said we could do something in July. And as the date has sort of got closer and closer, things are slightly freeing up with this coronavirus, and we're doing a bit more travelling. And then the government announced that potentially there's going to be air bridges into Europe in certain countries, including France. And I thought, hello, is it possible that perhaps the dates and the stars will coincide that we could take this into France? And it got me that in the press pack, not only is this thing has incredible acceleration and the speed, but they do say, whilst of course guaranteeing the superb comfort on longer trips, that is the signature of a genuine Grand Tourer Berlinetta. So Ferrari say this is a Grand Tourer Berlinetta. That needs trying out. So what we're going to do tomorrow, pack the bags and we're off to Provence. We're off about 950 miles away from where we are now. So I'm not going to do a walk around the car. You're going to join us. I'm going to stop off on one or two places on the way down and just see if this Ferrari 812 Superfast makes a great GT.
Well, morning. It's well, it should be 6:30. It's near 6:45 actually. A little bit of packing. Not a bad size boot in 812. I'm discovering, and then a quite handy shelf behind there. We're on a Eurotunnel this morning. The only thing we discovered last night, passenger seat doesn't have height adjustment, and it's set extremely low. So we've had a essential travel piece of kit, and that's a cushion by the look of things, just because it's mad low and you almost can't see out. First few miles just going through Oxford now. God, I don't know how to wake you up this car. Yeah, it's not the most relaxed car, even on the first bit of the journey. It just follows cambers, it's alive at the steering. It feels like a race car setup, just the way it darts about. Any sort of camber, always heading this way, that way. And slightly worrying when you set off, the engine warning light, the glowing, the one you dread, stays on for rather too long for my liking. I suppose it's just the cats warming up and things, but all good. We've got it's 200 miles to the tunnel or something like that. But there is no chance of falling asleep in this car or nodding off at the wheel. Anyway, not a lot of traffic. See you a bit closer to Eurotunnel. Well, here we are, Eurotunnel, and looking remarkably empty, which I suppose isn't really a surprise just yet, but I thought there'd be a little bit more activity down here, but no. Easy run down. Just looking at what I'm quite impressed with is 164 miles we've just done, and the fuel gauge is only 3 blobs going. It's got 9 blobs and 3 have disappeared for 164 miles. I don't know what range this car is going to do. It's 234 mile range remaining. I can't believe it'll do that much to a tank. Who knows? Right, nice to see a Citroen SM, the queue for Eurotunnel, and a 911 going out to enjoy it. That's quite nice too. Anybody think it was Le Mans week? The nice thing, we went Flexi Plus because I didn't really know how it was all going to be, especially on the way home. You know, the air bridge lifting next week, you just wonder how busy it's going to be. So we booked Flexi Plus, and you get a drive-through now. You can't actually go in to sort of browse and see magazine, newspaper and stuff, but at least it's a sort of drive-through, and they hand you a bag of goodies, which I'm now going to tuck into. And we're in France. Well, first fuel stop. Quite impressed actually. 320 miles we've done since leaving. I did a few miles last night before setting off, so I've done about 300 today. And I have to say this 812 is behaving an awful lot better in France. I was starting to get very nervous in UK because it was just following every camber, and the row it could kick up on the M25 on those concrete sections. I've got my dB meter out again, 81, 82 decibels in this. Suddenly we're down to 75 decibels in France, 74, 75. What is it about French motorways? They're so much smoother. Yeah, and I put in 95 octane in because we're just cruising down the motorway, so I don't have to pay their rip-off super unleaded prices on the motorway, really, because it's just tickling along. We've got about another 500 kilometres. I'm going to work it out when I get in. But so far, all going well. I wonder if I'm the only person who's ever going to work out the fuel consumption of their 812. But I'm quite intrigued by this. 320.5 miles divided by 16.4 equals 19.5 mpg. From 812 Superfast. Not bad going. One thing, if you are travelling in France, you're sort of expected to wear a mask when you go and pay for the fuel. Everybody seems to do it when you go to one of the places. Good. Right, crack on. I've mentioned this before, but you can get these tags for French autoroutes from Eurotunnel as an office in the UK. They are heaven in a right-hand drive car because that's what happens. And it just gets charged to your credit card, and it's live for as long as your credit card expiry date exists. So it's a 4-year thing, then you just update your credit card thing, and it's I can't imagine travelling on French autoroads without it. And once you have one, you think, did I really mess around and try and get close and do the wheels in and all the rest of it? Yeah, this thing just down the autoroute, just to sort of update some of the surprises I'm finding is it actually is quite short geared. And I was reading the press back, and the Superfast, they lowered the gearing by 6% over the F12 to give it a bit more acceleration. And that means when I'm sitting at my normal speed in France, which is about an indicated 85 miles an hour, about 135 kilometers an hour to take in speedo, error, etc. This thing is over 3,000 RPM. It's like an old school car. We've got used to cars sort of sitting at 1,800, 2,000 revs to sort of, because of the trying to get through the CO2 nonsense, etc. And then big turbo engines. But this being a normally aspirated 6.5 litre that likes to rev, I'm really amazed. There we are. I'm at 81 miles an hour and 3,000 RPM. Other than that, yeah, it's just creaming along. Today is going to be basically a pretty dull day, because the first leg I just get straight down through France to the really interesting bit, especially on a short journey like this. I almost went right down to, well, we're just to the west of Saint-Tropez where we're going, in one hit, 950 miles. It's a big day, it is doable, but you wreck yourself. And when you're travelling to France, the hour is the wrong way with you. So I always, if I'm going to do a big trip, I try and do it on the way back, because you gain the hour and suddenly it feels easier, just because your watch is saying, oh, it's only whatever time it is, because you've gained that hour. So what I'm going to do today is do the route down to the hotel now, not do any more updates, and then you'll join me tomorrow at the hotel, and I'll just go into a bit more detail what we're going to do then, because I want to do a little diversion on the way down, which is quite a fun thing to do. So yeah, for now I've got another 5 hours of this. Well, morning from our hotel just outside Lyon. Just over 600 miles we did yesterday, and the destination, I booked this hotel online recommendations. It's not, we quite often stay in Beaune or Mâcon, but I wanted to get a bit further south on this trip, and we had a little bit of a disaster last night with a hotel I'd booked. It had private parking, but it turned out to be underground private parking with an entrance about this big, and the 812 Superfast is about this big, and it just wasn't going to happen. So it was a right old panic last night trying to find another hotel. The chap very kindly, he was full of apologies where we'd booked and recommended this hotel, and I have to say it's a lovely little hotel, Le Pierre Doré. It's just off the autoroute, dead handy. It's impossible not to find. It's less, well, it's a kilometre if that from the autoroute. But it's just behind there. There's a sort of nice sort of dining area by the pool. It's sort of a place we would have stayed when we were at Evo, really. So we had breakfast by the pool and quite a good little restaurant as well. So yeah, a bit of a find, this place. It's one of these, I get the book, Logis. If you ever heard of Logis, they're sort of worth searching out, Logis places to stay in France, because they're like the independent. I mean, the Mercure and Western and sorry, there's a road just there, as you can probably tell. The Western, etc. Those sort of group of hotels, they're a different flavour. They're very convenient, etc. But the Logis, they're sort of more family-owned, etc. Anyway, I'm going to explain what we're going to do today. I'm just going to pack this all in. So put that in there. Right, I've probably got space to put that there. All right. Slightly worrying because there's probably plenty of space for some shopping, which I shouldn't be saying with Mrs. M close by. I'm going to get my map out, show you what we're going to do today. So we have gone right across France to get down to Lyon. So this is sort of where we are, just to the west of Lyon, literally where that little bit of red is. And we're going down, right down into Provence, Cavalier-sur-Mer, just to the west of Saint-Tropez. Really pretty area down here. It's a bit more wilderness. It's just a different feel to the more populated, busy Riviera, sort of Cannes, Nice, Monaco area. I like this area, and there's a reason why we're going there as well. But on the way down, I thought I'd just drop by a real favourite place of mine, which is a little bit of Alps. We're just going to bomb down because we're a tight schedule. We're going down the autoroute, but just off the autoroute is Mount Ventoux there, and this is worth searching out. We did a Evo Car of the Year there one year. It is spectacular scenery, and it's a little bit of sort of Alps craziness without having to go all the way across to the Alps. Obviously there's Route Napoleon, very, very famous Route Napoleons here, but it's quite a long way out of your way, and it takes forever to then get back on the autoroute section. So you have to come through Grenoble and come down this way, and then you end up at Cannes-Antibes. But there's a lot of rubbish sort of either end of some spectacular bit in the middle. Mount Ventoux is a bit of a quicker fix, closer to the autoroute, so I'm going to show you that on the way down. So yeah, time to get going really. There's a place selling super unleaded about a kilometre just up the road for considerably cheaper than it is on the autoroute, so we're going to do that, and then we'll head on down and we'll make our way to Mount Ventoux. We found a traffic jam. We're just going around Lyon. I have to say, I've had this before down here, and if you're going to get caught on the autoroute on the way down to Riviera, it's around Lyon. Try not do it at the busier times of the day is a top tip. I don't know why it builds up here, but it quite often does. And I can just hear the sort of gearbox chuntering. It's the first time I've done sort of stop-start motoring in this 812, and yeah, just the picking up isn't quite as smooth, but it's a dual clutch transmission made for speed of change rather than sitting in traffic. But you just notice it, and when it changes into second or down change from second to first, it's a bit of a whoa, it does a bit of that. But that's sort of characteristic of all dual clutch transmissions. And the stop start's interesting as well, because it's quite a buzz from that V12. So when it shuts down, it's sudden silence is almost more of a shock than it is in a regular car. Of course, it won't do it now. I've got the camera running. No, not stop starting for the camera. No way. Yeah. So I hope this isn't too long, because I was quite looking forward to Mount Ventoux. Right, well, we've come off the main autoroutes. After Lyon down to Marseille, it does tend to drag a bit, and you look out for Sortie 19, and I've done this route before, and it's just a relief to get onto normal roads, and they're empty down here. If you just swing round, you can see what we're looking at. It gets a bit twistier a bit later on, but it's very much rural France, and you can actually see Mount Ventoux in front of you. It's actually that, well, I call it a mountain in front of us, right there. One side is wooded, and the other side is sort of famous for the Tour de France. It's always how many bikers are on it is the only problem with it. So that's where we're heading. Very tempting bits of road, this. Feels good to exercise those horses again after many hours on the French autoroute. Look at that. Access to the summit of Mount Ventoux closed. Well, we'll go and have a look, because we're sort of on the way now, but I don't understand that. There's no dates, no times, no nothing. That is a right ball. Swap to the pencil cam, so if the sound has gone slightly strange, that's why. But this is just the approach. God, suddenly this car starts to shrink. That. We'll definitely climb. Mount Ventoux is 2,000 metres. Can't go over this engine, the way it has peak torque, 7,000 RPM. She's at crazy speed for a 6.5 litre engine. Change from the auto route. Gives it a fair bit of wheel spin away from the mark. I'm using third, just still got plenty of punch in third. Into second into here. really got to have your wits about you with this thing. But the rewards are mighty. I remember taking a 997 GT2 up here and thinking, wow, that's some car. So I really like this side. So it's worth travelling just for this, even if it is closed. But just the speed of response, that weight, was just, I did actually weigh the car, it was 60 kilos I think it was. But with that rear steer and that engine that just gives and gives. Oh, you wait for these two extra change-up lights to come on the wheel, they're all red, and then the blue ones appear. You've got two blue ones before the rev counter, the rev limiter cuts in. God, it feels good up here. It feels as good up here as how awful it felt on those B roads in the UK. Why can't we have roads like this in the UK? Oh, it's an angry thing. I have a whole lot more respect for this car, having done this trip. I think this is where it's closed. Right, here we are. Access to Mount Ferrari. Lots of filming going on. I sort of remember this. Yeah, we had a cafe. It goes further up here. Yeah, if you want to have a look at the view, that's where we are. Yeah, we've just spoken to some of the locals, and we're just going to go up. This is the road up to the summit of Mount Ventoux, but you can't actually go over the other side, which is the crazy scenic area. But yeah, they were just confirming just what my thoughts as well, that the better driving road is actually this side with the woods. The other side is the iconic Ventoux climb and the cyclist mecca. It's incredibly scenic up there, but this road is pretty special as well. Much narrower here, this bit of road, so I'm not going to go crazy up here, especially with these cyclists around. But yeah, very glad I took the detour, came off the autoroute, and we had a little taste of what this 812 Superfast is actually like when you really wind it up. There you go, you get the sense of Mount Ventoux, this weird landscape, this just scree, the trees disappearing, and that's what it's like on the other side. Just like the last time here, it's blowing a gale, so whether you can hear me, but this is the top of Mount Ventoux. And if you look down the other side, you can see this crazy road, how it's just built into the ski slope with these sort of ski poles just to show you the way through. It's a mad part of the world, France. Oh dear, I don't think that's going to work, that mic, but you never know. You never know, it might work. Good place to bring a Ferrari though, but a shame you can no longer sort of go up one side and down the other. But one hell of a viewpoint. Just this wind, much wind when we're doing car of the year. Everybody hiding behind the poor photographers who are just hating it. Well, we're going to make our way, we're down the mountain now, down off that pass, and going to make our way right down into Provence, down onto the coast where we're heading to the hotel tonight. But I'm very glad I made that detour. But now we're back in, well, I'm going to probably put it into wet. I've got it in auto, and we're back to enjoying the 812 as this GT Berlinetta. So yeah, we've got about 2 or 3 hours now, but we'll see you in the morning. Well, morning from a beautiful spot right next to the seas. It's a glorious hotel. It has this balcony that just overlooks islands off the coast, and just ace. Proper rainstorm last night as well. Yeah, just gonna just put this away. I have to say, this is a very usable boot space, and the fact it is a hatch 812 Superfast just means you've got easy access to that bit down there. So from a practicality point of view, I'm really liking it. But I thought I ought to, just before we set off today, I ought to just go through the price of this car, because it's pretty mind-boggling when you look at the optional list. 2 pages on the optional list. Car starts out £263,000 before options, of which there are many on this car, to the point where this car, if you were going to buy this, £350,091. How do they put so many options just a scooter just setting on? What gets me about the options on this car, it's just carbon fibre fest everywhere, and most of it, as far as I can see, is completely unnecessary. So a little bit of carbon there just on the rear hatch, known as a rear boot trim, that little bit of carbon fibre there. That is £1,440 to you, sir, to have that. Rear diffuser in carbon fibre, here, £4,500 for that. Carbon fibre under door cover, £5,500 to you to have that bit, just so you can get it damaged. I don't get this obsession with adding carbon fibre to all these pieces, because it just makes it more vulnerable. You'd have to get a PPF covering just to protect it and things. And it does. I'm not convinced it makes the car lighter anyway. The options that annoy me are, if you come around here, yeah, this car is fitted with the racing seat option. There it is in all its glory. That came pretty uncomfortable after about 6-7 hours behind the wheel. There's just, you don't wiggle. There's no wriggle room, so you're just fixed. Fortunately, the driver's side has this lever here, which means it goes up and down. Now the racing seat option is £5,184, and the racing seat lifter £1,440 to make your seat go up and down. It's manual backwards and forwards, everything else is manual, seat rake, etc. But if we nip round to the passenger side, and you'll see the passenger racing seat doesn't have the height adjustable, and we've ended up with 2 cushions, because it is set so low in the car. I shouldn't have to put 2 cushions in the car in a £350,000 car, and Ferrari should not be charging £1,440 for a seat lifter, but you only get one. You don't get one on the passenger side. Anyway, what we're going to do today, I'm just going to nip off now down some mega bits of road, because there's a beautiful vineyard just down the road from here, Chateau L'Aube. You might know it in the UK. It's part of the Daylesford group, part of the Bamford Empire, and that's where we're going to go next. Still haven't quite got used to the indicators being on the wheel. It's when you go around a roundabout like this, and I want to indicate off there, and I've got to look at the wheel to press that one to go that way. Funny enough, on the motorway and things, it all made a bit more sense, but as soon as you go into roundabouts in town, every other roundabout you say, oh sorry, I didn't indicate going on or off or something. Here it's fine, works fine. Anyway, here we go. Stumbled across it. All the roads around here are these little narrow roads, but yeah, just getting back to this car, what strikes me about it is right at the beginning, I wanted to know if it really was still a GT Berlinetta, as well as this 800 horsepower crazy dynamic car with this incredible engine. And basically what I found on this journey is this engine dominates everything, dominates the whole experience of this car. I think this V12 is just a wonderful sign-off to probably the last pure, normally aspirated V12 engined Ferrari. You just guess that the next generation is going to introduce electrification in some way, and it's going to be a glorious technical fest. But what a sign-off, what a way to go out, to bow out with this crazy engine. It comes with some compromises though, this engine, because it strikes me the 812 Superfast is so focused on that peak dynamic performance, the one I enjoyed going up that Mount Ventoux, that it compromises it on its sort of GT nature. It's just too hyper, it's too alert, too never relaxes, frustrates sort of way it spins, and it's always nervous, and it's noisy cabin, etc. When we actually started cruising, on the auto routes, etc., why is it spinning just over 3,000 RPM at the cruise speed? They've lowered the gearing by 6% in all gears. It sort of needs a longer gear at the top end. It's not the most refined thing. The race seats, do not order them if you're doing any miles in the car. They look great, but they are not my choice if I'm actually doing miles in this car. Standard seats in a Ferrari tend to be terrific. Just go for those. But they do look good, the sports seats. And lay off the options as well, because at £250,000 or thereabouts, this car really starts to make sense. And we've seen the values sort of come back, but that's probably because they're over-spec'd. I think this is the right sort of price point for this car, and it hasn't been something I have enjoyed. We're just going down a bumpy track here. What I have enjoyed is just the practicality of it. Ignore the madness and its sort of tramline and its following contours in the UK. The bits that sort of matter when you're sitting in here: good luggage space, brilliant ventilation, these sort of ducts and these easier to control air ducts, more cold air than you know what to do with coming at you, easy to control all that, good space for your phones, charges stuff, door pockets, the stuff that matters on a journey like this. Makes real sense. The other one I ought to just mention is that passenger display. Complete waste of time as far as we can see. You can't change radio stations on it. The navigation doesn't actually show you a map. You can sort of search points around where you are, but that doesn't seem to work very well. What's the point? It's a missed opportunity, that one. Okay, well, we're just turning down here. This at Chateau there is the most wonderful beach and cafe. The access is a little bit challenging for an 812 Superfast, not too bad. It's just a gravel road, which you get a lot down here. So if it's suddenly the camera gone is slightly wobbly, that's why. So yeah, it's been terrific to spend time in this car and do a proper journey in it. I have to say, we've experienced this car in all conditions, even on sort of bumpy gravel roads, to those B roads in the UK, to the autoroutes, and then Mount Ventoux, and we finish down here as you'd want to be in this sort of area, right against the Mediterranean. What I'm going to do now, we're going to visit the cafe down here and have some lunch, and then after that I'm going to go round the estate and just do a report on the winemaking here for my other channel, Harry's Farm, a sort of Harry's Farm special, just to see how they produce wine in the south of France. So you can watch that after you watch this video. And this looks pretty special. I think we're going to be taken down here. This is the Chateau Leo Cafe, and what I love about this area, it's not as populated as if you go to Saint-Tropez and you queue to come into Saint-Tropez. And there's just gems like this down here that you have just as good beaches, wonderful food, wonderful rosé to enjoy. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bit different to my normal videos I do, but we're spending a few more days down here. If you have enjoyed the video, well, keep watching, keep subscribing, because there'll be more videos coming along very soon.